Hey up everyone, hope you're all doing well. In case you aren't aware, Jose Aldo has a fight coming up as he'll be taking on Ayman Zahabi. And honestly, I'm lost for words. What the fuck are we doing with Jose Aldo's comeback? Because I just feel like this is a complete and utter waste. There was so many exciting fights on the table for Jose Aldo when he came back out of retirement, and we've just not received any of them. And I feel like this is disrespectful towards Jose Aldo, an absolute legend in MMA. I feel like he's been disrespected by the UFC for pretty much his entire career. Now let me go through Jose Aldo's entire career and explain why. Now to start things off, he was a part of the WEC, and then obviously the UFC brought out the WEC, so straight away he was a champion and took on Mark Hominick, got the win there. Kenny Florian got the win there. Chad Mendes got the win there. Frankie Edgar got the win there, and it goes on and goes on until he meets Conor McGregor. We all know about this. So we got what, 7 title defenses under the UFC? That's no joke, and you don't see anyone nowadays being able to get that amount of title defenses. But anyways, he gets knocked out by Conor McGregor. 13 seconds, we all know, most iconic knockout in UFC history, a great knockout. What does he get in favor of getting those 7 title defenses and being undefeated for what? I think it's 10 years he was undefeated for. When was his yes, 10 years he was undefeated for. A crazy run, 7 fights, 7 championship defenses in the UFC. How does he get repaid? No, he doesn't get that title shot. He doesn't get to avenge the loss, the biggest loss of his career, one of the biggest losses in MMA history, a humiliating loss, 13 seconds, like I said, very humiliating for Jose Aldo. Got knocked out. He never got the chance to redeem himself and go against McGregor. Really, if you respected Aldo enough, you would have granted him that rematch. I know McGregor was this big star who demanded to go up to 155. I understand that, but I feel like the UFC would have at least tried and pushed for that 145 rematch between Aldo and McGregor. I mean, the first one did crazy. The second fight would have done crazy. You could have built off for how Aldo, you know, oh, it was just a mistake. He got caught and that was it. McGregor got him with the mind games. You could have built up a big rematch, but no, he didn't even bother. Then he gets Frankie Edgar for the vacant title at 145, or the interim title, should I say. Then he gets Max Holloway, loses. Max Holloway again on short notice, because I can't remember who Holloway was meant to fight. I believe he was meant to fight someone else. And then Aldo steps on short notice, loses again, unfortunately. Then he gets a 2-fight winning streak against Jeremy Stephens, who was on a good run at that time, from what I remember, knocking out like Josh Emmett. And then he also got on Renato Moicano, which was another solid win, really. I think the only time Renato had lost at that point was against Brian Ortega. I don't think he lost to the Korean Zombie at this point. So a great performance from Jose Aldo. And I think he was on about retirement around here, but he stopped that because he got the win. Then he met Volkanovski, lost to Volk, but the greatest featherweight of all time, no shame in that. And then he decides to make the move to the bantamweight division, and a lot of people, including myself, didn't think this would work for Jose Aldo, considering he was struggling to make weight for 145. Well, how the fuck's he going to make it for bantamweight? But he was able to do so, and on his bantamweight debut, he takes on Marlon Moraes, where, yeah, he lost, but it should have been Jose Aldo's win. It should have been his win. I haven't watched a fight in a long time. I thought Aldo won, but again, it's whatever. He should have won that one, but he didn't. Okay, he didn't. Then he has a cancelled fight against Henry Cejudo. He had to pull out, so Dominic Cruz takes it. And then he gets to fight against Peter Yan. Now, people may see this as, oh, well, the UFC isn't disrespecting him here. He got the title shot against Peter Yan because it was vacant, and he was already meant to be getting the fight against Henry Cejudo. And people are saying, oh, well, you know, he lost to Moraes. He had 2 losses. He was going to have a title shot against Cejudo. Yeah, but there was no one else for Cejudo to really fight, considering Cejudo had just beat Marlon Moraes. So it was kind of Jose Aldo or no one. So then we did Peter Yan and Jose Aldo, and Jose Aldo did great against Peter Yan, a prime Peter Yan. I think he was 27 at the time. He did great, very competitive, one of my favourite fights of all time, a very competitive banger, and then lost in the 5th round when he got hurt, and Peter Yan switched it up on him. But then he went on a 3-fight winning streak. Marlon Chito Vera, Pedro Munoz, and Rob Font. And all 3 of these fights, I don't want to say that he was, but you could consider him maybe an underdog, especially for that Pedro Munoz and Rob Font fight. Marlon Vera, I can't remember if he was, but, you know, he won all of these fights. It was quite competitive with Marlon Vera, 1-1. I had it going into the 3rd round, but Jose Aldo was the clear winner. Pedro Munoz fucking styled on him. Rob Font fucking styled on him. And when he came against Merab, and Merab, how did he beat him? Hold him up against the cage for 15 minutes, for 3 rounds. Merab wanted no part of his striking, so he was like, fuck this, I'm going to hold him up against the cage for 15 minutes. An old, out of prime Jose Aldo. Got to remember, this isn't prime Jose Aldo. This is when he's out of his prime. He's had one of the best longevities of any MMA fighter. I can't think of an MMA fighter who has better longevity than Jose Aldo. Try and name one. John Jones, but he has used, you know what I mean? John Jones comes to mind. Who else? GSP left quite early on. You know, he wasn't super old, but you know what I mean? He hasn't been around the same amount of time as Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo's been doing it a lot longer than GSP. So, longevity-wise, you know, and then he retired after Merab loss. We knew it was going to be a retirement fight. He lost to Merab. Did some boxing for a bit. That was about it, really. Fucked about with that. Then 2 years later, he comes back, just under 2 years later, he comes back and takes on Jonathan Martinez. Now, I'm not angry at this matchmaking because Jonathan Martinez was on a nice little winning streak at the moment. I think he won like 6 in a row. You know, had a nice win over Said Nurmagomedov and Adrian Yanez. So I can't really argue with that. That's like kind of like, okay, we're going to test him against an up-and-coming. It's a winnable fight, but, you know, Jonathan Martinez is no joke. And if Jonathan Martinez wins that one, he gets a big name on his resume. Aldo looked fucking brilliant against Jonathan Martinez. Looked absolutely amazing, shutting down, proved that he could still go with a ranked fighter, an up-and-coming guy who's really sharp and on a good winning streak. So what did we do? Mario Batista, after beating Jonathan Martinez. Wasn't Jonathan Martinez fight the one to kind of test the waters to see whether Aldo still got it? So then why would you put him in there with Mario Batista? What was the point? It's baffling to me. I don't know why they even made that fight. And yes, it played out how it did. It was controversy where it's 50-50 when you look at the media scorecards. 50% had it for Mario and 50% had it for Jose Aldo. I gave it to Jose Aldo. A lot of people gave it to Jose Aldo. And it stunk out with joint because Mario Batista copied the exact same blueprint that Merab had and just hold Aldo against the cage. However, he did it a bit more shitter because Aldo was able to inflict some damage and he should have won the fight, in my opinion, but still, could have gone either way. But in my opinion, he should have won. And now Mario Batista's ranked number 10, meant to be in the prime of his life. Jose Aldo's ranked 11th. Who does he get? Ayman Zahabi. And yes, he's on a win streak. But why have we even ended up in this position? Why have we ended up in this position? Why is he taking on Ayman Zahabi? Why is he not taking on, when he came back and beat Jonathan Martinez, a Corey Sandhagen? The Dominic Cruz fight, which was right there, what people have been asking for such a long time, considering both guys were in the WEC days, with champions coming into the UFC, with respectfully two of the greatest fighters in their respective weight divisions. Jose Aldo, one of the greatest featherweights, and Dominic Cruz, one of the greatest bantamweights. They're both in the same weight division. They're both older. Why wouldn't you have made that fight? It would have been a fun fight as well. I think Aldo would have won, but why wouldn't you have made that fight? We never got to see it. Cruz is now retired. We never got to see it, and that fight will now never happen. And it just would have been a nice nostalgic trip down memory lane. It's still a competitive fight as well. Would have been a fun one, but nah, the UFC had other plans. Instead, we got the Mario Batista fight. And when I've spoke to people, they're like, oh, well, Aldo doesn't have it anymore. What suggests that? He just beat Jonathan Martinez and then had a competitive fight where he arguably won against Mario Batista, who's also in his prime. And then you got people in the rankings like Cheeto, who he's already beat. Rob Font, who he fucking decimated. And I still believe he could be a hard fight for many people in the rankings. Yes, he won't show it on paper because he lost his last one. And, you know, he lost to Merab and he lost to Marlon Moraes and Peter Yan. But when you actually look into it, Aldo is a fucker for a lot of these fighters. Hence why Mario Batista and Merab Dvalishvili fought him the way that they did. You know? It's just so fucking baffling to me. I'm sorry that I've just ranted on there, but I just had to get it off my chest because it really does frustrate me. Because I think after that win over Jonathan Martinez, again, I understand the Jonathan Martinez fight. It's just what came after I don't really understand. after the Jonathan Martinez fight, if you just waited, we could have got Aldo versus Sean O'Malley. A winnable fight for O'Malley. Could be competitive still. Don't get me wrong, I think O'Malley wins that one. But again, that looks good for O'Malley. It tests him on the feet. You know, you're going to get a good fight. A legend on his resume. It would have been a very fun one. Aldo would have deserved a big fight like that. So I just don't really get it. Or if you didn't want to go that deep, maybe that's a bit too bold. I can understand that. Why didn't you do Sandhagen Aldo after Sandhagen lost to Umar? And like book it later on in the year or the start of 2025. Aldo versus Davison Figueiredo. I'm just thinking of fights off the top of my head I would have personally thought would be fun. Right now, Jose Aldo versus Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, you could have done that really after the Sandhagen fight, considering everyone was saying, oh, you know, Umar needs to fight more contenders. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Henry Cejudo's still right there, and you matched him up against Song Yadong. Could have done that. But no, UFC had other plans. They gave us Ayman Zahabi, who, yeah, he's on a win streak right now. What, 5 fights, 5 wins, sorry, in like, what, 6 years? He's 37 years of age. I mean, I can understand maybe they are rewarding Aldo in a sense, because I think he's going to beat Ayman Zahabi. And they're like, oh, you know, you'll be able to win this one. We'll give you a winnable fight. But I don't know, man. I feel like we shouldn't fuck about and waste time considering he's getting up there in age. I know his longevity's been amazing, but we can't bank on that forever. And there's going to be some day soon where Aldo decides to pack it in. I just feel like the UFC have really fumbled Jose Aldo's comeback to MMA. And it really does piss me off because he's such a legend in his prime. One of the most exciting fighters to watch of all time. I just feel like he's been really underappreciated by the UFC. I'll be completely honest. Maybe you guys agree or disagree. I'm quite sold on the fact that the UFC don't respect Aldo enough. And we don't respect a lot of legends, in my opinion. When Stipe was champion, we didn't respect him, but made out that we did respect him when he was going into the fight against John Jones. Demetrius Johnson, we never really respected him. And then recently, like, oh, we always loved DJ. Shut up, man. Like, I don't know. I'm just pissed off the UFC. I've ranted on for far too long. What do you guys think about Jose Aldo and how he's been treated by the UFC? More specifically recently. But if you want to talk about throughout his entire career, let me know whether I've hit on this one or missed on this one. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.